So what would it take to eliminate poverty in Canada by the year 2030? The 2030 Project is a podcast where we explore why poverty persists and what we can do about it. We endeavor to uncover what has been successful with Canada's poverty reduction strategy to date, and then what needs to come next. The 2030 Project tackles some of the biggest and the most pressing social issues facing Canada today. Now, in this episode, we're going to introduce you to two women in very different stages of their lives, and both rely on the kindness of others to make ends meet. That includes regular use of their neighbourhood food bank. They each live in poverty in Canada's largest city. And they each tell a remarkable story of resilience, of self-care, of personal and professional development. And above all, I was struck by their unvarnished hope for their future, while at the same time drawing on their lived experience in assessing the prospects of actually reducing poverty. First, meet Kenya. Kenya, can you take me back to the day or that moment when you realized that you were going to have to make use of the services of the Daily Bread Food Bank?
It started most likely when my mom became a single parent around five years ago, and it was difficult, being able to afford like the rent and utilities, and then paying for also food. So then it became the most sense to try to find food in places where in order to kind of move around money and going to the food bank, freed up money to be able to afford other essentials. So then that's when we began to make use of the food bank services that were available to us.
So in that period, over the last 5 years, how much are you relying on it?
Pretty frequently. We tend to go every week to the food bank when they're open, but sometimes on holidays or special occasions they're closed. But when they're open, we tend to frequent them every week.
And when you say we, how many mouths do you have to feed based on that?
My mother and I.
So it was that change in circumstance for your mom then, right?
Yes, that's correct. And
what other supports does your mom have?
The old age pension is what she uses, and then the food bank, and then I also go to school, so OSAP is what I use, and then if friends and family on the side to give us something, then we also accept that as well.
So tell me how you kind of come around to the idea that where you're trying to make ends meet based on those limited resources, and quite frankly, the OSAP is supposed to be helping you pay for your education. So what are the things that you have to do on a weekly or a daily basis to get through that?
Really have to stretch it down. Sometimes the food bank doesn't always provide all the food you need. So looking for sales is very important to us. We always try to find things that are on sale. They may not be the freshest because they're being pushed out of the store, but we do have to try to balance off whatever money we have and be flexible with it. So sometimes it's difficult, but then if friends and family are also giving stuff away, like if they have a phone and they no longer use it after 2 years, and they say to us, do you want to have this phone? It's not new, but do you want it? We will accept that because it's better than having nothing. So it's being flexible and being open-minded and trying not to be too prideful as well.
I think you're brave and courageous for saying that, but it's to have to use that phrase, it's better than nothing. How hard is it to sort of come to terms with that's what you have to put up with?
At first, you may not have been open to asking for stuff or accepting charity, but I think that when you're in a position where that is either going to be you having to go without, I think at the end of the day you decide asking is better than going without or suffering quietly than just being open about your circumstances and people being understanding of it.
But I assume that you do so without a sense of giving in.
Yes, I think that when you're asking, you're knowing that you're hoping that soon one day you'll be able to be in a better position in life, and then maybe you can give back to those people who gave to you as well, and it would feel as distraughting all the time.
So how far away, based on your own experience, how far away are you from that? being able to say, okay, I'm in a good place where I could actually give back to those who supported me?
Well, right now I'm currently in the nursing program, so I'm hoping that, when I finalize the program and finish like the 4 years, then I'll be able to get a good job so I can be able to provide more for my family and also give back to those who gave to me.
I think that that would shock people to hear that, that people live that marginally. And I don't mean that as any disrespectful way. I mean that our lives are that fragile in some ways that, one change in our circumstance in the family puts you in the position that you and your mom are in.
When we would go to the food bank, we would hear that some people who had big jobs, like they're in business or whatever, they happen to lose their job even during COVID. And they said that now they never expected that they'd be going to a food bank, but things changed. They couldn't afford the lifestyle they were living, and they had to stretch the money somehow. And they decided that a food bank, saving money from the food, would be able to pay their bills, so they had to come there as well.
So when you look on a daily basis, and how far away are you from graduation?
I'm only 2 years away.
Okay, so that's still a while to go. And the last 2 years, I imagine, were the toughest that you've probably faced, given COVID-19. Yes. How much more difficult did that make it for you and your mom?
It is a challenge. Like going through COVID and using the food bank has been very difficult. There has been there's been a shortage of food. Like many people who donate to the food bank, they're unable to even look after their own selves. So then there has been a shortage. So it has been a lot more difficult, and there has been a lack of healthy alternatives or any vegetables or fruits and vegetables, and there has been definitely longer lines. So going through these last 2 years has been very, very challenging.
Both you and your mom, of course, at sort of different stages of your life. And, I don't imagine that your mom ever thought that she would be in a place where you would have to support her. How is she managing all of this?
She is a senior and she's older, and she did used to be able to provide for me. But when things changed, it has been, it's been a bit disappointing for her. But I think at the end of the day, it's not in her control. She tried her best, and I don't mind stepping up and trying to do my best to provide for her, like how she provided for me.
And when you say you're talking to other family, are they local?
Yes.
What's their sense of this? I mean, has this sort of changed your relationship when you've had to, or when they felt they had to sort of step up and help?
I guess this kind of made them realize that not everyone has access to everything. Like this prior to 5 years ago, you felt a bit more distance. But then as they've been helping, they've kind of had a bit of an more open heart and realized that we are in a position that we need help, and they have been more generous and more open. There are more phone calls, more FaceTimes. I think it's kind of shifted things in a strange way to be more open and more caring and more understanding of family members.
Now, you would have made this decision to go to nursing school, presumably after you were in a position where you were relying on the food bank. Is that right?
That is correct, yes.
So walk me through. I mean, now you and your mom are in a position where you're having to be fairly frequent users of a local food bank. At what point did you say, I'm going to go to university and I'm going to become a professional nurse, knowing full well that would add a great deal of stress economically to your circumstance?
I think that although at the present time it's more of a strain on the family resources, I realized that with having an education, you can be able to provide better for yourself in life. And it's an investment. It's not as if you are spending money on something that's not important. It's when you're getting education, you to be able to earn more money and have a better job in a professional position. It is going to, at the end, provide more for you and your family and those you love and friends. So I think it does help in the end. I think it's a very good investment, and I think education is always something that's going to be able to provide and help you.
In the short term, or actually in the immediate term, I guess, how do you manage circumstances where, your mom may need certain medical treatment or various medications? Does she have the wherewithal to take care of that?
So in the short term, I do get OSAP. So when I get that, I know I'm supposed to be putting towards paying off my school, but then in this current situation, I do put it towards my family, and then I guess when hopefully like later on when I get a job, I can be able to pay off my school loans afterwards. But the OSAP money is very helpful towards paying off things that we need currently, and that helps very much.
So clearly, you're living week to week on that check that you get and your mom get.
Yes, very helpful. It's very needed.
I think there are a lot of people who would look at your issue and your circumstance and on the one hand admire you and the work that you're doing to support your mom and to get your education. But on the other hand, there's a certain stigma in some parts of the society. Do you feel that? Do you ever get that feeling of being stigmatized?
I think no one wants to go to a food bank if they don't have to. But I think that when you are in the position where you know that either you starve or you use money that could have been put towards something else, then you realize that you have to you get into reality, and you realize that you have to do what's best for yourself in your present circumstance, and you decide to put your head up as much as you can, and you think, okay, I'm going to accept help now, but it won't always last forever, and one day maybe I can be giving back to people who gave to me, and I can be donating money or food to these same institutions that helped me when I was in a position where I could not help myself as much.
Yeah, I think you paint an important picture there, because often we will qualify or think of or characterize certain folks who are, living in poverty or below the poverty line, and we think of them as being unable. And the way you describe it is that you're more than able, and that your own abilities are going to push you through.
Well, I think this experience of having to go to the food bank, it kind of motivates you in many ways, and being also understanding of other people and their circumstances. Because sometimes when you see people in line, you maybe previously before I was in the situation, I would thought maybe like they're lazy or they just don't want to help themselves. But you realize that they're not just lazy or not want to help themselves. Maybe they've been put into a situation, like maybe they've lost their jobs, they've gone through a separation, which caused them to be in a situation that they are in right now. So it also teaches you not to pass judgment, but to get to know the person and their situation and their circumstances, and then you get a better picture of who the person is. So it does teach you a lot when you're now in a position that you never thought you would be in.
That's a hard way to learn the lesson for empathy, though, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And that's what I meant. I'm glad you kind of pointed that out when your own view of it was that your own misperceptions of it before you actually experienced it. So I just wondered whether or not you were ever the recipient of that misperception from others.
I don't think I've really experienced someone stereotyping me or something like that, or stigmatizing me. But I know it does exist, but I haven't personally experienced it. And maybe prior to this, my experience, I may have had those construed perceptions that people of people who are in food banks. But then as I've experienced it myself, I realized that it's not always because they don't want to help themselves, because the situation that they put in is maybe forced them to have to make tough choices, and then they decide that for their family and for themselves, this is like the best choice that they can make.
Just the last thing I want to ask you then, much will be made of, the federal government's poverty reduction plans, and they're very ambitious, to say the least. Those whom I talk to about it say that they've got the right framework. Whether or not it's the right timeline or the right amount of money is something else again. And I don't expect you to pass judgment on the policy. But when you look around and you see that there is in our society chronic poverty, to some degree you experience that, do you feel at all confident that we can reduce poverty to a significant degree where, we're going to be on track where we could eventually eradicate it?
I don't feel confident that we can eradicate poverty, but I do think that steps can be made towards reducing poverty and providing more for those who are in low-income circumstances, I do think that is possible. But in terms of reducing it and to the point of eradicating it, I don't think it's a very plausible situation.
Is there something you would point to say this would go a long way to helping reduce it significantly?
I think providing more jobs, maybe providing jobs in neighborhoods that are less well off. I think always when there are jobs being provided, I think that always helps. But I think maybe just making jobs where people with all types of education levels can have a job. I think that's always important. But I don't see eradicating poverty as a possible solution. I guess I don't see it as being possible.
Mm-hmm. Kenya, thanks for your patience. This has been very helpful. I hope that you and your mom do well, and good luck with your studies.
Thank you very much. It was great talking.
Good to talk to you. Take care.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
My name is Kate. I live downtown Toronto for about 10 years now. At one point, I was the executive assistant to the CEO of a major corporation. And prior to that, I had worked for presidents and CEOs of other corporations.
So it sounds as though you had a fairly fulfilling career. You were being active in pursuing the career. You were growing in the career. What happened?
I would say the number one reason would be my mental health. Yeah.
So was there a lack of support for you to deal with your mental health issues, or was that a conflict at work?
No, it goes back a long ways. I suffer from 40 years of depression. I was predisposed to depression because of hereditary reasons. My mother's side of the family had the gene. But the good news is, Dave, was 2.5 years ago, I was at a healing service at Scott Mission, and God healed me of my depression. And I've been off medication for 2.5 years under supervision of a doctor.
How long were you on medication?
40 years.
And that would have been under the direction of the same physician over those?
No, I've had numerous physicians. I've been in and out of hospitals. I'd say about 5-6 times in my lifetime, including CAMH. Yes.
What was it that the doctor in your case was able to say to you that gave you the confidence to put down or put the medications aside?
What gave me the confidence?
Yeah.
Again, I have to go back to the fact that it was a miraculous healing that I received. I felt heat in my body for 3 days. And I knew it was a miracle of God. And I went off the medication gradually under the supervision of my psychiatrist. I didn't do it overnight, but I just knew I was being healed. That's what gave me the confidence. The confidence to go to my doctor and told her that I would like to go off my medication gradually, and she was agreeable to me. Yeah. I was seeing her on a regular basis, and she also saw that I was healing, progressively getting better as well. Yes. Mm-hmm.
How has your life changed then since you've had that healing process and not been on the medication?
I would say that creatively I am more active. I do a lot more artwork. I write creatively as well. I also cook creatively. I'm in the process of writing a book about my memoir, my life journey. So life is good. Life is worthy. Yeah. Some
people would look at your circumstance and think that they wouldn't be able to cope given the challenges that you have had, that, you know, where how it's affected your career, how it's affected your mental health and one affecting the other, how it's affected your circumstances in terms of where you live and how you live. What would you say to them if they told you that I couldn't cope with this? How do you cope?
I cope because I live abundantly. I am a believer. I'm a Christian, and I believe that I live abundantly and I lack nothing. That's what I would say to them.
So walk me through your day then, because I'm interested to hear how you would do that if you were going to, pick up groceries and do some shopping. How do you get through that day? I'm assuming that you're on a benefit program, again,
Yes.
limited
Yes.
income, so
Yes.
you're going to have to make that money stretch
Yes.
very well. And it sounds like you are in a good place, so you must be great with money.
I am good with what I have. I'm a good steward of my money. And I was able to put some aside when I had a lucrative career as well. So that helped out also.
Where did you learn that
I
habit?
think maybe because I majored in business at university. I have a commerce degree, so that gives me some money smarts. I hope, and plus, my parents taught me the value of of a dollar.
Now, you're on an assistance or a disability pension?
Yes, I am.
Is the money that you have of your own, does that pose challenges in collecting that pension?
I don't have enough of it to make it a problem. Let's put it this way. If I had a lot, then it would be a problem.
Right. But then if you had a lot, you wouldn't need the pension.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't need the pension, but I need the benefits because medication was very expensive. So is dental care and vision.
So explain that to me, because, a lot of people will take it for granted because they'll perhaps in their workplace, they have the benefits of dental and vision and, that extra trip for whatever therapy that they may want. How often or how critical are those benefits to you at this stage of your life?
It's critical because therapy is ongoing for me. And therapy is anywhere between $165 to $200 an hour.
There's a whole conversation right now nationally, and much discussion has been made about reducing poverty in this country by 50% between now and 2030. If someone were to tell you that they were going to reduce poverty, what does that mean to you in your life?
I don't believe so. Because I go for my walks in the morning and I see the poverty in the street, the people sleeping on the street. Yeah. The homelessness is an issue for Toronto.
So no matter what a politician might say or a government program might offer, you don't think that we are going to get out from underneath this?
Poverty existed from the beginning of time. And it will continue to exist. I was given a verse in the book of Revelations. It spoke to my spirit. It says, I know your afflictions, I know your poverty, yet you are rich. And that's my story.
So you don't consider yourself living in poverty?
I live below the poverty line, but I live abundantly. I have everything I need. He is my provider. And that's a testimony. I'm talking from my heart. I'm grateful that I'm in a benefit program, but it's not enough to live on. It's not.
What would it take for to be enough to live on for you?
I might be dreaming my index to inflation.
That would be a step in the right direction,
Yes.
but still wouldn't be enough.
Yeah. Yes. Mm-hmm.
Kate, it's been a pleasure to talk to you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Very good.
I didn't know I was being interviewed by such a famous personnel as yourself.
What makes you think that?
Oh, I Googled you.
Oh. Best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you very much. God bless.
Now, Kate has not only relied on the food bank, she has relied on volunteers to deliver her groceries. You see, she contracted COVID-19 in April of this year and wasn't allowed to leave her apartment. Still, as she says, she lives a life of abundance. Both Kate and Kenya are models of dignity in spite of the physical and psychological constraints of poverty. Thanks for listening to the 2030 Project. We would encourage you to subscribe to this show. We're on Apple and Spotify, Google, Audible, pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts. We'd also be grateful if you'd offer a rating on the show. We'd love your thoughts, your feedback, even your criticism. The 2030 Project podcast series is sponsored by Daily Bread Food Bank, a Toronto-based charity whose mission is to collaborate with all to eliminate food insecurity and advocate for solutions to end poverty. I'm Dave Trafford, and the 2030 Project is an Eye Contact production.